Yes. Alright. Anyway. You know what's really weird? See these things? I always have them on, you know, because of the radio station Space 25, etc., etc. But the fact is, when I'm making this video right now, I don't need these because I'm the one doing the talking. So, what's up with that? So taking these off. Secondly, I wanted you to know that Greenie 202A, okay, is an idea of a dude that, or a person that probably argued with a bunch. He's a pretty snappy guy. Anyways, I have to commend him. He beat my challenge, okay? My challenge was to figure out where a week came from. You know, we know the day, we know the month, we know the hour. You know, that's all orbital stuff. It has to do with the solar system, but the week was my challenge. Where did it come from in our society? Now I'm driving towards it. It comes from, I don't know if I should tell you or not. I drove that it comes from this spot, okay? That this is what it is, and he said it was something else. Yeah, I'll tell you. I say it come from Genesis. The book of Genesis is where our week comes from. The very first words of it in the Bible. So that's the answer I was expecting. The answer he gave me was it comes from Babylonian times, which predate the Pentateuch, or the Pentateuch is a group of books that Moses wrote, like the first 5 books of the Bible, and the very Genesis, obviously, anyways, he wrote it down. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. 7 days. And Greenie come back and say the Babylonians, you know, they found some tablets and things from them that are sort of complete, perhaps, and 7 gods in there, and, you know, they put their stuff together, so it comes from pagan gods. And that beyond that, you know, everything else is a mimic of it, which, you know, you'd have to look up into Wikipedia on the 7 gods of Babylon. I think is a good place. But anyways, he beat the challenge, okay? So, good job. I learned something. Isn't that a miracle? Anyways, I'm going to be working a lot, and I might not be able to make a lot of videos like every day like I've been doing, or respond to all my friends and stuff. And I'm sure you're probably playing a violin for me because I got to go back to work. You're probably saying, going back to work, why don't you retire? So that some of the younger generation can actually have a job. Hey, man, it's not my place to hire. I got twins. I got kids, man. I'm still raising kids, okay? Anyways, this video is about, it spawns from various sources, but one of them is a profound statement that was made. And I'll put credit up there if this person wants me to give him the credit for it. But what this person said was that on one of the video comments in a vlog says, I enjoyed this blast from the past, the computer past immensely, you know. And history is such a valuable thing. If we lose sight of it, we become disillusioned when things fall apart. You know, the job I'm going to is major. It's an entire reservation system for airlines, you know, and it's managing the hardware that runs and chums the data that gets all munched and separated out into the reservation system for an airport. It's a major computer operation. And so the history, that far as what I had given for the comment, had to do with how we went from a tube to where we are today in the computer industry, based upon my personal life experience. So the comment, history is such a valuable thing, we lose sight of it, we become disillusioned when things fall apart, was relevant to the entertaining factors of hearing someone tell you face to face how this all came about. But what's profound in this statement to me is, if we lose sight of it, history, we become disillusioned when things fall apart, which must mean that if we don't lose sight of history, we don't become disillusioned when things fall apart. That's what's profound to me about that statement. It's so deep, man. So deep. Well, hold on a second, because I've got to do something real quick here, okay? It'll take a minute. can't find my comb. I don't know what happened to it. I'll just comb my hair like this. And Old Navy. Okay, because you're supposed to, you got to play the part here. You already told me you're not on the radio. You took your headphones off. You know, this is video. Okay, so you got to play the part. There. So I honor that. See, these guys, these YouTube guys, when they criticize you, you know, it's constructive criticism sometimes, and you learn. I learn stuff. I learn a lot of stuff. I mean, one time this guy told me my nose was bent. You know, I got offended by that, you know, and I really got offended. And the dude, you know, that was my nose. I run back, I look in the mirror, guess what? He straightened out my nose, man. You can't beat that. Anyways, if I stay on track here, I've got 5 minutes left, okay? Here's how this all relates, man. It made this video because this guy Samuel Morris, my question to you, who made the first message ever in America, text message, was Samuel Morris on the telegraph. You know, that story, you'd have to read it, you can find it, but you know, when he finally got through to Congress that he could harness lightning and send a message using lightning to Congress, and they go, okay, go ahead. They approved him to do this. He had given another person the honor of the content of that message. Said to the girl, all right, since you brought this to me and, you know, told me about the good news, you tell me what message to send when I demonstrate to Congress how this telegraph works. I mean, we're talking about, like, what is it, the 18th century or something when he did this. And I followed all of that up with the telegraph history and everything because of AT&T, but then I also followed that up with what the heck was that message? It wasn't that easy to find, but it turns out it took her a year. Okay, she had a year to find a message to send, which is the predecessor to the modern day BlackBerry on the telegraph. So anyways, after 1 year of deliberating with her mom what to send, they picked Numbers 23:23 out of the Bible. So, you know, I went and read it, and to me it's like, what? Numbers? That's a boring book, you know? There ain't nothing in Numbers. Why'd you pick Numbers? Why didn't you pick John 3:16 or something, you know? Some profound text out of the Bible. Why'd you send some obscure text, Numbers 23:23? That doesn't mean anything. I was so disappointed, you know? But then when I read the whole chapter of Numbers, you know, it turns out that it had to do with that group of people who had been enslaved for 400 years, and they were brought out of Egypt with Moses, and they went to the promised land. Let's talk about Israel someday. But anyhow, they went to the promised land, and they developed a culture. I mean, they had nothing. No culture at all, okay? So when they left, they developed an entire culture. And that message, Numbers 23:23, was a guy on a hill observing 600,000 men and all their women and children and everything, or whatever. A massive horde is what he called it, of people coming towards him. I think they are the Amorites. And he's saying, like, these people are going to destroy me. It's like a plague of locusts. They're going to just run over my town and destroy everything. So he was trying to prevent that from happening. And the guy he sent to stop them, to curse them, you know, have God curse them or something like that. The end of the whole entire story was they came back and said, look what God has done. That's the message. Excuse me. Look what God has done. And I thought, man, really? I mean, we go from the telegraph to the BlackBerry. That's massive advancement, you know? And then a group of people that have been in slavery for 400 years, they don't know anything except pagan Egyptian gods or whatever they are. Pharaoh, munching sticks, making bricks. 400 years. My dad, my granddad, my great-granddad were all slaves. You think I'm very intellectually, scholarly smart, you know? And to take them out of that environment and make a civilization out of them. Look what God has done. Not only that, but breaking away from Egypt in itself. You know? So, that's an allegory that's deep. And that is history. And that's only 2 layers of it. Because there's a 3rd layer to this whole thing, man. And that is the same thing is relevant in the end of our world as we know it. Because here's another guy on YouTube says this. Age of Aquarius on the winter solstice of 12/21/12. That's 2012, right? That's future. The world and its people will all still be here, but it will see the beginning of a new social consciousness. Isn't that what the Hebrew slaves did? Didn't they say the beginning of a new social consciousness? Isn't that what we did when we went from Samuel Morse, with Morse code, to the BlackBerry? By the way, we're not done yet. That BlackBerry is going to be designed to the point where it becomes synthetic life. A synthetic life form that's small. And these people that are into medicine and designing pharmaceuticals and things and establishing, they think, I disagree, but they think that evolution is demonstrated in these little things that they do with chemicals and stuff. And I think it's adaptation. You can go from a carp to a goldfish without evolution, because a goldfish is still a carp. But beyond that, you get into this little biosphere thing and just put it here, just push it onto your skin. It works its way into your skin and grows into a functional BlackBerry where I can telepathy now. I can send messages to my friends if I'm on their friends list without a device. I just think it. And it goes into this little synthetic thing in your forehead and they get it. They get it. And they talk back to me and it's marketed on the commercial market as telepathy. But you know, it's still telegraphy. It's still a telegraph. It's not telepathy. Telepathy is prayer to God or to a demon, either way. It's a spiritual realm deal. But that will be marketed as telepathy, even though it's really not. That's where we're headed. Isn't that profound? Okay, so based on all that, this is future stuff, man. We're talking about people in slavery. Well, I'm in slavery as far as I'm concerned, like most of the world. And don't we have oppression going on? Isn't there a lot of stuff happening? If this solstice happens, I don't know if it's relevant to Planet X or not, but I know if Planet X comes down and crashes on our planet, it's similar to something in the Bible that says something's going to crash to our planet and destroy wickedness at the same time. Daniel, the book of Daniel. But I have a hard time believing that this big reptilian guy is going to represent my God. This big reptilian guy is the clothing of a demon, or a clone, or some genetically altered piece of crap that he's trying to tell me is some other race. He's a sinful demon with some morphodite. That's what happened to Babel. That's why Babel fell. Anyways, to stay focused on all this, my point is a new social consciousness coming up. Well, even the book of Daniel talks about knowledge increasing, and all of Christianity has been saying that knowledge has to do with the high-tech advancements we're making. Look at time, look at the industrial age, I say, no, man. It doesn't have to do with our technical advances. Knowledge increasing on the earth at the end of time has to do with the spiritual knowledge. End of story. That's what it had to do with. That's why the solstice thing is all about, a social consciousness, okay? That's what telepathy or telegraphy, this is a a fake social consciousness. We are excelling as human beings because we can now do telepathy. We can fly like an eagle too. You know, we can swim like a fish. We can do all these wonderful things. That's man's advancements. That's not the knowledge that increases at the end of time. That's just man's advancements. The knowledge increasing at the end of time is our awareness of a spiritual war and who we decide to go with, one or the other. And most of us get deceived and we go on the wrong side. You know, and this stuff comes down, crashing down on us in judgment, and people go, oh, God's a bad God. He's one to fear. Yeah, he's one to fear. Because when he does come down, he says the wicked are destroyed with the brightness of his coming. Now, I don't know who they are. One of them might be me, or it might be my son, or it could be my brother. But if he's destroyed with the brightness of his coming, and I'm standing there watching it, I'm going to think he's pretty bad. And then he takes me up there, and I'm going, hey, wait a minute, what about my son? What about my son? That's another story, man. And I have answers to that. I really do. And they're good ones. And they make you understand. Because that's the profoundness of it all. History is such a valuable thing. If we lose sight of it, we become disillusioned when things fall apart. But if we don't lose sight of it, we don't get disillusioned when things fall apart. Like me, I'm getting old. Gotta go.